you may not always see it, but we really do love each other. And there's a sisterhood that's unexplained. Even when someone's coming after you or you're going after someone else, there is an undescribable bond. We're the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
And we're UsWeekly's
Reality Stars of the Year.
I don't even know. I just found this out. I had no idea. I had no idea that we were Reality Stars of the Year.
We're the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
And we're UsWeekly's
Reality Stars of the Year.
There were big moments that bonded us. Like, being swarmed by a SWAT team was a big bonding moment. I think Bermuda was bonding. It really... we really felt for each other in that moment. And I think that we continually to have those experiences where, instead of fighting with each other, there's an outside force that we all join up against to fight against. And I think that creates a really strong bond.
Even in our early seasons, though, I feel like that we went through a lot and we all went through it together. Even when they started the show out, we kind of suffered. We were battered, beaten, and we were ridiculed and lied on. And we kind of had a lot to endure to get to where we are. So the last thing we think of is, we're the best. I mean, we kind of think about our struggles, and I think it makes us more stronger, but yet we made it.
Yeah. We're grateful. I think we're grateful to each other and to be together and to be here together.
Like I said earlier, we're all very different. Our internal wiring is very, very different. If you say the same thing to all of us, you will get something completely different back. And I think that going through things that are traumatic together gives you a certain bond and a certain understanding of each other. And it's really hard a lot of times when someone's saying stuff to you to understand where they're coming from. And when you sense and you understand that you support each other and love each other after what we dealt with and went through, you're more open to listening and hearing their perceptions. Or at least I am. Maybe you guys aren't.
It's definitely a bond builder. I think if you haven't experienced those things together, you kind of can't relate to each other in the same way. I think the fact that we went through them, we got closer, we stuck up for each other. I think that those things create this experience that no one else can really relate to but us. As someone who grew up in New York and converted into the faith, I think it creates different depth and dimension in relationships because, the standards that you experience with the faith, the culture here, interactions, friendships. And I think, being an outsider moving here, I also saw how it impacted Whitney and Heather. And, that's a different type of bond we have because it's like, I'm still practicing, they're not, but I understand them. So I think, Salt Lake City has always been, one of the stars of the franchise. And, that's a big part of, it used to be a bigger part of the culture here, but it's still a part of the culture here. So I think, the standard level with the community as a whole is higher than in other places. So I think it definitely impacted the show.
Even though I'm no longer practicing LDS, one thing that I really value about the religion is the work ethic. And I think that's what we all have and share in common. And, Meredith can move here with zero experience of Mormonism, and the community of Mormonism is welcoming and they look out for each other. So I think that is something that I've appreciated of a value moving this culture into the show, if that makes sense. And we're all the family dynamic. We are all fierce mothers, would do anything for our children. So I try to look at the positives, but the culture here in Salt Lake City, you can't escape it. I still can't go places and get alcohol on Sundays sometimes. And that's frustrating.
I do honestly credit Real Housewives, coupled with COVID, for saving my marriage. We were in a horrible place when we first started. And, it depends on how you embrace this show. But if you do it the way I did, which I think is the right way, you really learn a lot about yourself. And there's a lot of self-reflection that goes in. You see how other people perceive the things you do and say. And a lot of times you're like, wait, I didn't mean it that way, or I misspoke, or, and it can create a lot of problems, and it teaches you how to communicate better. So for me, that's like one of the biggest things. And then of course, other people see problems you're going through, and it helps them and makes them feel like they're not alone. And so to me, those are like the most rewarding parts for sure.
But what's cool about reality TV is we give back to our fans, and there's a big fan base, and we pour that love that they pour into us, we pour back to them. And it creates a beautiful bond in a community where I think a lot of people sometimes maybe haven't had a community with that much love. So for me, that's what I love about reality TV, is meeting real people and giving back all of the love and support.
I think for me, people will message me and say, like, I agree with everything Whitney and Meredith said, but for me, a lot of people will message me and say, I have confidence in this situation because I watched you have confidence. And I think for me, that's when I feel like, oh my gosh, good, good. Don't let anyone do that to you, and stand up for yourself and believe in yourself and know that you can do more than one thing and be like amazing, your best self. And I think when I get messages like that, that means so much to me. I think, younger girls, like I have like with my younger girls that watch the show, and things I do resonates with them, and it helps them think like I can do that too. I think that's a big deal for me.
I feel like we're not just women that are blessed and a little bit wealthy. We have real problems like I do with my son. And I think that sharing that, it's an epidemic. And I think that sharing him to people that are in that light or in that spot that really need help, I think that reality shows bring that to a real, yeah.
It's meaning of life kind of stuff. At the end of the day, we all have our stories, and for me, most often it's, I wish I had a mother who handled my sexual preferences the way you dealt with your son. And my husband and I get this all the time, and that's why we keep coming back, because it's meaning of life. It's a purpose. It's a strong purpose.